So I just want to welcome everyone to our third class. It's actually the third of three introductory classes to love letters from God, the Aleph Beit love letters from God, and it's these introductory classes are about common terms and concepts that are really, they form the basis, the foundation for which to build further on the letters. So we go into a number of different ideas, and one of which is the Sefirot, which is what we're talking about today. I thought I'd do a very brief chazara, just going back over the Sefirot that we did talk about. And I would just, before we dive in, I just want to say that that our learning today should be for protection for our soldiers who are fighting to protect us, that God's light should surround them and protect them, that His light should surround all of Am Yisrael and all good people everywhere, wherever they are. It should be a refuah for those wounded, and may we all see this light come out into the light of Mashiach soon.
For the hostages to be returned.
And for the hostages, thank you, for the hostages to be returned. So just diving in on our review of the Sefirot. So I'm just saying that the Sefirot are energies. And they're energies that they each have a particular, they all have different characteristics, like the energy of courage, let's say, or of assertion, or of love, or strength, or there's different energies to each of the Sefirot. And you can also think of them as colors. And we use the model of a painter who wants to paint a painting. And the painter has an idea, his vision of what he wants to bring into reality. And he chooses from all of his paints, he chooses 10 colors to use for the painting. So these 10 colors are the letters they're the Sefirot. So, and then we went on to describe the brushes that he uses to paint the painting are the letters of the Aleph Beit. And there's 22 brushes that he uses to apply these particular colors in particular ways to create his painting. So, but right now we're working on the Sefirot, and I'd like to pass out. So as we talk about each one, you can see where it lies in the Eitz Chaim, which is a graphic representation of the Sefirot. As God's light comes down through the top, through Keter, filters down through all the Sefirot in a particular order, and then goes into Malchut, which is the receiving vessel that holds all of the light from above. The Sefirot on the right side have to do with expansion. The Sefirot on the left side have to do with contraction, and the Sefirot in the middle line have to do with synthesis and harmony and bonding and connection. Okay, so we went through the first Sefirah of Keter, which is vision, which is will. This is Hashem's vision for us. And it's just like Keter means a crown. So it's just like a crown sits on the head of the king, so too our Keter is not really part of us, but it's what Hashem wants from us. It is our, the purpose that He brought us into the world is our Keter. And so it sits here. And to the extent that we internalize it, it internalizes into our da'at. But I'll get there in a minute. So the Keter is on the top. The Keter is about why we're here, what we're doing. Even if it's not conscious to us, Hashem will move us in the direction so that we will actualize the Keter. Okay, it can be unconscious, but we find that gravitate towards these kinds of activities, or we're drawn towards this, or we feel passionately about that. So Keter can be unconscious, subconscious, superconscious. It's really our superconscious will. Below that are Chochmah and Bina, which correspond to the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And Chochmah has to do, it's translated as wisdom, but it really is all the knowledge that is in your brain. Everything, every fact, everything that you saw, everything that you learned, things that you experienced, everything is in your chokhmah, in the right side of your brain. And it's when we look at it in the perspective of the cosmos, of God's creation, it's all the axioms of creation that He put into the world. So it's like our chokhmah is this, I like to think of it as this vast, deep, subterranean pool of ideas that we have thought at one time in our life or other. It's just a subterranean pool, deep and dark, and it's just everything is floating around there. When we think about one of those facts or one of those ideas, or we select one thing to think about, to articulate it, that's when it flips into Bina, which is on the left side of the brain. Bina is about articulation and analyzation and association, and it's when we focus on one of these ideas from Chokhmah. And so we can use it either in our thought, in our speech, and Bina is based on two roots. It's based on Bain, which means between, which is about separating between ideas. This is this and not that. It's also related to Bone, which means to build, which means I build on this idea, I build another idea, and I associate it with this idea, and this idea, and this idea, and it becomes this spider web of this network of flashing lights going on in our brain. That's Bina. And then Da'at is when we internalize it all. We internalize God's Keter for us. We internalize it through Chokhmah and Bina. We use Chokhmah and Bina to take the Keter, make it conscious, and internalize it as our own will. We make God's will for us our will. It becomes who I am, what's important to me, what I know, and what I stand for. This is what I speak out in the world as my own truth. Okay, so Adkan, that's what we did last week, and I hope that was a coherent chazara on what we did. Okay, so now moving on, this was the intellectual sphere. Now we get to the emotional sphere of Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferet. Chesed is about unconditional loving kindness. It's a specific kind of loving. It's not just, an ethereal kind of love, but it's a love that translates into kindness in the world. In other words, it's a love that we are doing something about. This is Chesed. It's a Chesed kind of overflows from us. It's doing the loving kindness, feeling loving kindness, because a person is one who loves. It's not for any special reason. It's just because of who the person is. The person is one who loves, and so it spills out into this this active feeling of loving kindness. There's a negative side to Chesed, and this is when a person's self-love, which is a healthy thing, self-love is healthy, but when the self-love just keeps growing and growing and growing and this person, that's the only thing that the person sees in the world is themselves. And so this narcissistic individual is, just filled with chesed, but it's chesed for his own self. As an example, Yishmael embodied Abraham's trait of chesed, that he wanted to give, but it was a give when the giver didn't want to receive. And so it translated into domination and into self-serving, conquering and dominating others, and expanding into others' space when they don't want that. So that's an example of a negative form of chesed. So now that's on the right side. On the left side of the Eitz Chaim is Gevura. Gevura is the counterbalance to chesed. Gevura is the energy of might, of restraint, of self-restraint, self-discipline. Through Gevura we can create a strong sense of ourselves, and it helps me say no to what I don't want. It is utilized well. It puts bounds. It puts certain limits, good limits, on chesed. I want to eat everything here on the table, but I am stopping. I'm not going to have the muffins because I know they have sugar, but maybe I'll go for the nuts and the dates and maybe the lentils over there. So I'm putting a gevura on what it is that I'm seeing in front of me. Gevura can manifest negatively in a person that's constantly saying no, when their first response to any situation is no, and then they'll think about it a little bit. Or the person whose self-boundaries, whose self-restrictions are so tight that he doesn't let anything into his life. His life becomes a very tight, narrow-minded box of, this is what I know, this is what I believe, and I'm not going outside of that, and I'm not, I'm not going to move beyond that. Gevura is the power to hold back, giving goodness to another when you see that the other is not really worthy of receiving that. So that's another aspect of Gevura that's very important. So Chesed is the light of loving kindness, and Gevura constructs the strong vessels to hold that light. That's another way to see it. That Chesed is this light of loving kindness, and Gevura is the vessel that can hold the light. Okay, so now coming back into the center column, we have Tiferet. Tiferet is the weaving together of Chesed and Gevura. It's not the gray color that you get when you mix black and white, but it's the harmonious dance between the two of them. Like letters on a page, black letters on a page are also an aspect of Tiferet, where they interact with each other in a very specific way. Tiferet is also about the heart's compassion, as it tempers Chesed and Gevura, and Tiferet enables a positive channel for loving expression. It's about beauty. Tiferet is about beauty. The root is pe'er, beauty, harmony. And the negative aspect of Tiferet is valuing beauty for its own sake. Or it could be harmony based on superficial reasons, external reasons. Something like social convention, or this is what's politically correct. That a person doesn't speak their truth, which is another aspect of Tiferet. A person doesn't speak their truth because of political correctness. This is when Tiferet appears in a negative way. Tiferet also appears when a person is kind or compassionate to someone who is cruel, or cruel to someone to whom he should be compassionate. That's also a misplaced tiferet. So those are the three, that's the triad of the emotional Sefirot. The next triad is about action. That's Netzach, Hod, and Yisod. And these are the Sefirot that have to do with bringing action to our thoughts and our feelings. Netzach is the energy, that's on the right side. It initiates growth, it's assertion, it's action. Netzach is about leadership. It's about the energy of accomplishment, pushing ahead, overcoming obstacles. This is Netzach, and it's related to victory and eternity and Torah. Torah is related to Netzach, and Moshe Rabbeinu is also connected with Netzach. Netzach is the quality that enables us to step up and accomplish our goals. It's related to the right leg, and just as the right leg steps forward, the left leg supports them. The left leg is Hod. But first I want to talk about a positive manifestation of Netzach is a relationship. Like a Netzach relationship is where each partner in the relationship respect one another, and they give space for the other one to lead in certain areas, depending on where that one in the partnership, where they have their strengths, where they're and what this particular situation they're in, what tools that situation needs. So if someone is really good with numbers and budgeting, and so they'll take care of the finances. And if another person is good, is creative and loves to experiment and loves loves working with food, they'll do the cooking in the family. So that's a Netzach relationship where respect is given to the other's strong points. A negative, did I say a negative relationship? That's a positive relationship in Netzach. Negative would be where each one is vying for dominance, where each one wants to be the leader in all the areas. And that's something that unfortunately we see as well. Okay, now we get to Hod, which I think is one of the least understood of all the Sefirot. Hod is the left leg. Hod corresponds to the left leg. It's about support and commitment. Hod is about the follow-through to Netzach, Hod is, the word Hod comes from the root head, which means echo. And Hod echoes the steps or the lead of Netzach. Hod is the carry-through of where Netzach is going. It gives whatever assistance is needed. On a personal level, Hod is quiet humility. It's the person who suppresses his will for the good, for the greater good. Hod is like the humble helper. In a healthy marriage, so we fluctuate, as we said before, between the leader and the supporting helper, alternating back and forth between the couple. A person who lives Hod in the negative is someone who just kind of, whatever you do, whatever you want, that's what we'll do. It's a person who loses their identity in a relationship. So that's obviously also a very, something that people can fall into. Hod is also related to Hodot, which means to thank. And so Hod is also is the ability to live in a state of gratitude and thankfulness. Gratitude for what it is that we're receiving, what it is that we're going towards. So the passion of Netzach will get you started, but it's the follow-through, the commitment, the support of Hod that will keep you going. Netzach, Hod balances and supports the forward motion of Netzach. Okay, so that brings us to Yesod, which is in the middle. It's the center line of the Eitz Chaim. Sorry. Sod is the energy of connection. Sod is the intersection between giver and receiver. All of the Sefirot above are what are filtering down, giving down to the last Sefirah of Malchut, which is the receiver. Hod is that channel through which this giving takes place. Yisod, thank you. Yisod is the channel through which the giving takes place. Yisod literally means foundation, and just as a building's foundation connects the building with the earth below, so Yisod connects all the upper Sefirot with Malchut. It's also the sexual center, that point of connection between husband and wife. So Yisod connects the three upper Sefirot, the intellectual Sefirot, with the three emotional Sefirot, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, and then connecting down into action, into behavior with Netzach and Hod. Yisod connects all of them together and brings them down into Malchut. Yisod is about giving pleasure as well as receiving it. A negative Yisod relationship can be one where one person is just focused on what's in it for me, what do I get from it? Or it can be an enmeshed relationship where they both lose their identity, and it's kind of a wishy-washy kind of situation continually. And each one is wrapped up in meeting the other's needs. That's a negative relationship, Yisod relationship. So these 9 upper Sefirot are all about the qualities of the one who's giving. The 10th Sefirah is the one who's receiving it. That's Malchut. So you can envision all of these, the energies of all these Sefirot percolating down through the Eitz Chaim, percolating down, synthesizing in Yisod, coming down and birthing into Malchut, which is a new creation. Malchut means literally the kingdom. It is what is birthed when you take all of these concepts, these ideas, these realities, and you birth them into something that's concrete. You make it into a united whole. It's like birthing a baby. That baby is the synthesis of the chromosomes and of the husband and the wife. It's a synthesis of two coming together. With the birth of Malchut, it's the synthesis of all the upper Sefirot coming and birthing into something new. Malchut is the kli, the vessel that holds the light of all these upper Sefirot. Malchut gives a voice to all of these upper Sefirot. It's the outward expression of what started at the top as Keter's vision. This is what Hashem wants from us. This is the vision percolating down through all these Sefirot and is birthed in our self-expression. Malchut is creative. Malchut is creating something new. We can also think, we can also think of it when we come back to the concept of Malchut as the kingdom. Just as you can have a land, and there's houses, different houses on the land, different people live in the land, there are different, they grow different things, but when you bring them all together as a kingdom, as one, united under one king, then it becomes a whole different place. A kingdom has a motto, a theme. I know the United States was started with the motto of "In God We Trust," which was really exemplary of the founding fathers. And supposedly that concept has filtered down into us today. Anyway, each kingdom has its own motto. France was fraternity, liberté, égalité, fraternité. That's their their motto. That fused them, the people of France, into a kingdom. So everyone in the kingdom is united through one theme, one purpose, one idea. That's how Malchut relates to the idea of Keter, bringing that Keter down through all these different aspects of ourselves, bringing it down into who we are. It's not only that we birth a baby, but we birth ourselves. And I think that is really one of the main ideas of Malchut. We are birthing ourselves through our lives into the world. And that's like a really important idea. But I will also say that there are negative aspects to Malchut as well. Just like we know that to the extent that we develop our chesed and we develop our gevura and our tiferet and our netzach and our hod and our yesod, to the extent that we develop these and refine them and work on them, to that extent what we will birth in the world is an incredible being. But if we don't develop them, if we don't work on our chesed, or any of the other qualities that we have within us, then what we will be birthing is a limited individual. Just like with a kingdom, if the values of the kingdom are not strong, and it's comprised of thieves and ne'er-do-wells and con men, then what will be birthed is a kingdom where thievery and violence and narcissism and gluttony reign. It really depends on what are the values and what we have actualized in the kingdom that is ourselves. So that is, and one last thing, as we said before, the Keter is God's will for us in the world. When we truly integrate that Keter through our qualities, we think about it, through our chokhmah, through our bina, bring it into our dot, make it our own, birth it, actualize it through our actions. To that extent, we will be actualizing God's vision in the world. We will be aligning our will to His will and birthing that into the world. So with that, I'd like to end that part of our of the shir, and I'd like to open it up for questions. If you have questions about the different Sefirot before we go into our visualization.
What's the last thing you said about God's vision?
That when we take His Keter, His vision for us, and we internalize it, we bring it into our minds, we bring it deep into our hearts, we make it part of ourselves. We bring it, into our emotions, into our actions. Then we can birth His vision for us, His Keter. We can birth that into the world in actuality. We can make it real. We can. I mean, that's what we're doing here. We are here to bring His vision of loving relationship, where we are all united. We are all one creation. We're all one vision. A vision of oneness in relationship with God. And so when we do that on an individual level, when we refine and bring light to our particular corner of the cosmos, then we will be helping to actualize His vision in the world. Does that answer your question?
Well, it kind of begs more questions. Whose vision is it, and how does an individual access Hashem's vision for that individual? It's very unique.
Yes,
Hashem has a different vision for every soul.
Exactly. That's a wonderful question. That's really
How
a
does
wonderful
each
question.
soul work out?
So,
Hashem's vision for that individual soul.
So to do it justice, I'll have to talk about it another time, but it's really a good question. And one way is to sit with it and ask your higher self. That aspect of yourself that knows, the part of your higher soul that knows, because it is connected. To ask that, what's Hashem want for me in the world? That's a big one. It's a big question. And there are a lot of other ways that we can kind of access that. But sit with the question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So in talking about how the different Sefirot are representative of different parts of the body as well, I was wondering if, I think you said, so Netzach is like representative of the right leg or corresponds to the right leg. If somebody has a problem in one particular area of their body, like a physical problem, like along with it possibly being, structural, does it also indicate that there's something out of balance for them in that sphere?
So there are a lot of good ideas on that subject. There's a lot of research done on it, and I think it's to examine, like if someone has a problem with their hand, their right hand, their left hand. Am I I have a problem with my knee, with my left knee. And, it has to do with flexibility. It has to do with how much am I, supporting what I want to do, what my ideas are, where I want to lead in the world. How much am I supporting that? There's what to think about. And for each person it could be, it's a different, you could come up with different ideas, but it's definitely worth thinking about and kind of asking the question, within yourself. Good question.